Okay, my name is Douglas Thompson. What you're looking at, I'm a little bit sick right now, so my voice sounds a little bit stuffy. I know it's been a while since I made a video. This is my Snow Wolf highly modified sniper rifle. It's bolt action. Excuse me. I've done quite a bit of work to it. First of all, I got it new, but that doesn't mean shit. This gun new has a lot of problems. I'm going to go over those during this review, and as you can see that the barrel is quite a bit shorter by about, actually it's shorter by a foot, and the muzzle brake is also no longer. It was a orange piece of plastic and it looked fucking stupid in my opinion how large it was. I know it has a function on a real rifle, but for airsoft it just wasn't very practical to have that huge thing. And anyway, so I'm going to go over the features and some of the things I like and dislike, and some of my very extensive troubles I had getting this rifle to work, and how it's doing today. I got this rifle about I don't know, about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks, something like that. It is normally I think $450 with this scope. It is an illuminated red dot. Also, it has a 3 to 9 variable zoom. The scope also comes with an extension, a sun shield, or whatever you want to call it. The sun makes it to where like the sun doesn't get into the optic, and there's less lens flare from the side. Comes with a scope, whatchamacallums, flappers. I took them off because you can't adjust this with it on, and I don't know, they look cheap, and I kept this one on because I didn't want to have to paint this to sort of keep it with the black and tan theme. It looks better being black. So eventually I might either cut this off or I don't know, reattach the little flapper. But let's go over some of the features of this gun. It is bolt action, so that means it's one shot per. Make sure there's no ammo in there. One shot per cock of the gun. It is it's normal. It's supposed to be a bullpup rifle, so you're actually supposed to insert the shells here on the real version, and being bullpup, the action would be behind the pistol grip. But since this is airsoft and this long cylinder has to reach through to here to the bolt is about from the bolt end of the handle to about here. So to reach up to the magazine well, it's necessary, but you do lose some would-be barrel length. So anyway, yeah, one cock per shot, and the bolt is very smooth once you get it working. Hopefully this is okay. This will give you an idea of what the trigger pull and what the sound is like. So it's a relatively heavy trigger pull. Now that I've modified it, it does not come very heavy like the stock configuration. It's a pretty light pull, although you can feel that there is a trigger bar or linkage rod or whatever you call it. You can feel that there's more than just something going on here, because there's a linkage rod and then this little plastic sort of wedge, cheese wedge slider that sort of slides along the bottom of this portion here. I'm not going to be taking the pistol grip apart, but I mean I could show you what you would do if you wanted to take it apart. There's really not much to see in there. I'll probably do a takedown video next time I change out the because I'm going to try to get a different hop-up unit to put in here, and figure out some way to attach the or make it to where like the barrel is it's stabilized in there without having to use electrical tape. You know, I mean, which is, it works, but for whatever reasons, this electrical tape keeps on pushing its way out, like it's you know, always having a baby out the end of the barrel. But so yeah, so it's one shot per cock. These cuts in here are done by me. I literally did them with a Dremel. I put them on both sides. I just kind of, I was trying to lighten up the rifle. Cutting that large portion of the barrel was not to lighten the rifle. Just to add that, it was actually because at the very end of the barrel, there's a significant curve or a dent or something. You could see it if you look down the barrel. And what was actually happening is my grouping from like 20 feet away was like a foot, maybe more. So that was just a little bit ridiculous. So I knew something had to be wrong in the barrel. So yeah, the pistol grips are actually Aeg Pistol Grips, which I don't like. It would be possible to modify the trigger portion, or I don't know what you'd call it. It's literally just to house the trigger mechanism. It's not really the lower receiver. The lower receiver is actually this portion right here. So it's kind of like a three-piece gun. There's like the pistol grip area that disconnects from the gun, the lower receiver, and then the upper receiver. And the upper receiver is kind of a combination between this top shield plate for, I guess it's mainly just for protection, because you can actually run the gun without that being on there at all, and the bolt assembly and barrel. So yeah, like it comes on there. I mean, it goes on fine, you know, like just with the two screws. That's not the complaint. It's just the complaint is the Aeg pistol grips they're less secure than a real pistol grip for numerous reasons. One, because the plastic is thinner. Two, because just the way it's attached with two little machine screws, it's just not a cool way to do it. So, and I had to fill up quite a bit of gap. You can't really see it, but quite a bit of gap on both sides. They send it with an ill-fitting, really shitty pistol grip. I actually painted this a while ago, and it's starting to rub off, but I like it being kind of discolored rather than what it looked like, just like this weird off-color tan. It looks better like this to me than it does stock. This gun was entirely tan in every sense of the word. You know, the scope rings are tan, these little caps were tan. You know, obviously the upper receiver and rail segment were tan. The only thing that was black to begin with on this gun are these feet, these bolts, and some screws, and this butt pad. The rest of it, like inside this bolt, like that was tan. This shield was tan. Yeah, the scope rings were tan. These caps were tan. The barrel was tan. Just everything was tan. Pistol grip was tan, and it looked horrible. The selector was tan. So you know, I painted it black, and it's already starting to wear off. And but you know, it looks kind of cool. Now the body is entirely just super thick steel. The barrel is made out of really thick aluminum. You can see that. Oh, I mean, that looks horrible, but the barrel itself is extremely thick. It's a really heavy barrel, and you know, thus it's heavy duty. But the butt pad is really dense rubber. I'm sure like there's some, you know, maybe there's some plastic or something in there. I haven't taken it off to really find out, but it's solid. The pins are high quality steel with like some rubber little O-rings on them. There wasn't one up here as well, but this whole unit is very loose. The way it comes stock, so I tightened this down. It's a dual-sided screw thing, so I could just tighten the shit out of it, make it to where like there's no way that thing's coming loose. The bipod has steel and sort of pot metal components. Like this black portion is really high density steel. The feet are steel, and I believe these little wings, or I guess the legs, are steel, I believe. Actually, we can find that out right now. Yes, that is steel. This part right here, one of the most important parts, this little connector that connects for the attachment point to the leg, is not steel, which is retarded. The detent inside is steel, and I upgraded the springs inside of here because when you would go to get prone or whatever and you'd throw your bipod down, sometimes the spring would be so weak it would just loosen itself and then switch out of position, make you kind of stumble around, and you just can't have that happen, But they are cool. They fold both. You just pull them down, and they fold both to the rear or to the front, and they stay up pretty good now that I upgraded the springs. There's also a little button right here that you can push, and the feet drop out. I think that's as far as it goes. And all you do to put it back in is just push that button and push it up physically, manually, whatever you want to say. There's a pin that holds this unit all together. You just pull that pin, and then you can drop your bipod if you need to, and it lightens the gun considerably because this thing's it's pretty weighty. Being steel. What else going on here? I cut the body. I did a pretty ghetto job, but I don't plan on selling this rifle, at least anytime soon. I didn't like how this was angled, and then the lower receiver actually came out to about here, and it was like squared off, and I just thought that looked really dumb. And they are only little chunks of metal. There's like a little triangle that's missing from here, like that. But it does save on weight, and that's not why I cut it off. I cut it off for looks, but in turn it does save weight. Now, this may not have been a practical thing to do because it didn't save a whole lot of weight, but I thought it looked pretty cool. I saw people were drilling holes in there to lighten their gun, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go one step further, make this cool little strip and extend it out, from here to here, I just think it looks kind of cool. And what else is going on there? These two body pins also remove. I don't know if I mentioned that, to release the trigger area. Yeah, the scope is that comes with it is 3-9, and I don't know if you can get a good sight picture. You can kind of see what's going on in there. There's no battery in there yet, but the battery it came with was dead. Now to take off this black heat shield or body panel, I don't know what you don't want to call it. You take out these two screws here. There's one screw underneath this carry handle. I'll go over this in a second. One screw underneath this carry handle, and then one screw right here. And then the heat shield just lifts off, and my phone is dying, so my flash turned off, even though my phone is plugged in. This phone is a real piece of shit. I hate this phone. Anyway, so where was I? What was I saying? That phone distracted me. Yeah, so after you do that, you can take this off, and then you can expose your actual receiver, because it's basically an L96 in a M99 shell, if you'd call it that. There are slight differences to the receiver, and obviously the barrel assembly is different, and the magazine well is different. We'll go over that in a second. The scope's pretty cool. It comes with these rings and stuff. They're just standard sort of rings, and they give you a good amount of height. So you can, when you put your cheek up here with an airsoft mask, you can actually still kind of see down the scope or whatever. And depending on your facial gear, it might be different for you, but for me, it works. The carry handle is built super solid. I believe this portion right here is some sort of semi-low quality aluminum. The hardware attached to it is steel, high quality steel. This is steel right here, the handle here. This portion is actually a fixed, so you can't swivel this or anything. You can't turn the handle itself. But when it's weighted, it's actually perfectly in line. So if you need to get up and go, this thing's kind of a beast. It weighs, now it probably weighs close to, I don't know, like 15 pounds. But I think the stock weight, like with everything attached and, you know, the magazine in, fully loaded and everything, which wouldn't add much weight, but just everything attached and no modifications done, I think it weighs like 17 or maybe even close to 20 pounds. So that's some serious weight for an airsoft rifle. The length is actually shorter than a VSR 10 scout rifle now. Like, it may look like a big rifle, but it's thick. It's, you know, it's a thick rifle, but it's actually shorter than my other short rifles. The barrel I cut to 303 millimeters, which is 11.97 inches or something like that. I want it to be compatible with my VSR 10. So once I switch out the barrel and the hop-up unit, if I can find one that's compatible, I'll be switching over to a carbon steel Lone X barrel, which I just put in my VSR 10, and it's awesome. It's really high quality. I'll get to that in a different video. So yeah, like this, let's see what else can I think of to go over. This thing's a beast. To adjust the hop-up, you can actually see the hop-up little thing right there. Let me flip this gun over. So to adjust the hop-up, it's kind of a pain in the ass, that little silver thing right there. Not the silver round thing, but the silver kind of line-looking thing. I can't really... right where my pinky is. That little thing is a little slider you can adjust, and it bends. It's really low-quality metal. It's a really piece of shit design. But yeah, these screws right here are actually to hold on the support post that the barrel and stuff is stabilized and attached to, and also what the upper receiver or the heat shield plate thing is attached to. This screw right here, right, or the screw inside there, is what you would also unscrew if you wanted to undo the actual upper receiver, the one that's actually within the body, and you'd have to unscrew the barrel posts and stuff too, like to get to it. And as you can see, this had attached to Bipod. It's a high quality steel pin. They come with these little key rings. I'm trying to think of a way to get rid of these key rings because I don't like how they shake around the body, and then also they're very reflective, you know. So I feel like that would, if you're far away and someone saw it shine, you know, that would unnecessarily give you position away. Yeah, and then it just slides off. Here's what it looks like close up. It's got some pretty beefy welds in some places. The part that I'm very disappointed in is if you look on the back right here. Oops. Where is it? This little pin right there is what holds this piece of pot metal to this steel leg, and I just feel like that's going to break off. I've actually heard of reports of these bipods breaking. I'm sure it can be repaired or ghetto modified. That's the term I like to use, as you know. But I just feel like they should have just like went the extra mile and made these parts steel, and then they would have never had the issue of it breaking, and you could just use this thing forever, you know. Anyway, but it's a definitely a cool piece for free, and as you can see, like it, you know, if you're on a hill and you're like sideways or something, and you needed a little bit extra length, you know, you got the extra length. That's a bipod and a half, you know. Anyway, so let's see. This is what the gun looks like without it. Now the posts, none of these things are welded. Why is my phone out of focus all of a sudden? These things are not welded. That's one of the reasons I chose to screw this. It makes no sense to me why they're not welded. These are not welded to this. Both of these, as you can see. See how they're completely separate? These are kind of like tack welded to the body, but these black posts are what actually this pin as you can see, it's wobbly because there's a screw that attaches these rather than being welded. So that's what the pin rides in. But so what I'm thinking about doing is drilling this out like on the side, like because I don't want to interfere with the screw that comes in from the top. Drilling it out on the side and then putting a small bolt and a screw right here, and then clamping them down, maybe Loctiting them, so that this is one solid unit. Like this whole thing would be one solid unit. So that's a complaint of mine. I'm not sure why they didn't just go the extra mile. What else can I go over? So I guess the Selector is non-functional. It does. I mean, it goes up and down. I've actually replaced this with a steel detent because the one that comes on there is a ball bearing, and as soon as you do anything like take it out for any reason, you can't ever get it back on. So I put an actual detent in there that has a shaft that you can actually insert on the spring to make it work. Anyway, the magazines they're low quality that comes with it, but they work. It's kind of cool. Like this little spring thing kind of keeps it in the optimal position when it's in there, and it also makes it kind of satisfying when it clicks in there. And it's actually one of those things where you can actually get this magazine out better if you have gloves on, because like the VSR 10 mags are sometimes kind of tight and you have to modify them, and the little button isn't always reliable that you would push right here. But this one is just like a little latch. You just and it poops it out. And since it's spring assisted, it actually kind of just puts the mag in your hand while you're taking it out. So it's, if you were trying to do a quick reload, if there is such a thing for a sniper rifle, even though this wouldn't actually be a magazine-fed rifle in real life, but it makes it to where it helps you out. And anyway, there are some modifications you could do to these magazines to make them better. I guess look it up if you're interested, but I'm going to keep mine stock for as long as possible. Internally, it's got tons of modifications, but the stock internals are, your basic stock sniper rifle internals: a plastic piston, brass cylinder head, cheap aluminum bolt or cylinder, if you want to call it. The bolt handle is, I'm actually not sure if that's steel or not, but I don't think it's steel. It is not steel. There's no steel whatsoever in there. Yeah, it's all shit pop metal. But I mean, it's thick enough to where this bolt handle shouldn't break, at least for a while. And this bolt handle is very heavy. It's kind of satisfying. I mean, listen, like it's kind of spring assisted. Like there's a detent in there keeping it in place, but it has so much weight. It kind of, listen to the table. Hear that? From that weight just being thrown around. Anyway, yeah. So internally, yeah, like it's just a basic stock sort of piece of shit sniper rifle. So the spring, it shoots around. Oh, mine shoots around 460 after I've done some modifications to the air seal components and stuff inside, and we'll go over that in a little bit. But it comes stock with a steel piston sear. It's a very rough cut piston sear, and I polished it and reshaped it. Again, we'll go over that in a second. But it's kind of nice that it at least came with a steel 90-degree piston sear, so you don't have to do anything if you want to sort of upgrade it to maybe like an M150 spring or something like that. They'll be able to handle it for a while. Now the trigger sear is just crap pop metal. I'm not really sure why they went with a steel piston sear and didn't, like I said, just go another step and make it that much better. But they chose to do that, and that's okay because it's a pretty cheap part. And I will be getting that part. But I'm going to run this gun stock until it breaks. And I know I always say that, and I end up crazy modifying my guns. But everything in here is stock but modified, if you will. Now the piston that comes with it, here's the kicker. The piston is so ill-fitting in this gun. My gun started slam firing, which if you're not familiar with the term means when you pull the bolt back, it'll catch for a little bit or not at all, and then just slam forward and like kind of pull it out of your hand, or it'll never lock, and you'll end up accidentally loading 2 or 3 BBs by the time you finally get it cocked. And then you'll push it forward, and then like a bunch of BBs will fall out, or your sniper rifle turns into a shotgun. You know, it's just not a fun thing, and there's no reliability, there's no consistency. Just a total poor choice on this company's part to not include a proper fitting piston. And what they did is they went off spec a little bit on some of their parts. I don't know if it's because they manufactured them or they bought them from some place that didn't adhere to certain specifications, but either way, whatever the case, this is a common problem that I researched with these rifles is they slam fire, sometimes out the door. You know, I'm not sure why they wouldn't realize this is a problem and fix it. I mean, I can't say the same for like the very newest models, but I mean, I'm pretty sure this is a relatively new rifle, because I mean, you know, I've done a bit of research on them, and you know, they came out, I think, in 2009. So regardless, I hope the issue has been addressed, and I'm pretty sure it has not, because I still see reports, you know, from 2014, 2015, people still having these issues. So ridiculous. Anyway, so the modifications I've done inside are I've curved the piston sear. If you're wondering whether it's a toothbrush here, this is what I clean threads with. This is so when we have bad toothbrush and we no longer use them, I use them for airsoft, like cleaning and whatnot. I'm not just out here brushing my teeth all the time. Anyway, so yeah, so I if this were the piston, I curved the portion that the piston sear would interact with, and then I also curved the trigger sear, so it like slots in rather than 2 flat faces. So it's really positive engagement. And if you knew what the stock one sounded like, this would be more of an example. But the fact you can still hear that's very positive engagement if you listen. Really super snappy, and then the trigger pull is nice and crisp. So the gun itself it's not very quiet, but I made it that way. If you would, I like to make my guns louder, and while it does decrease reliability and durability, it makes it to where I feel like it's more powerful. I don't know. It's just a mental thing on my part. I like my guns to be loud because they're guns, or you know, we're trying to replicate firearms, and then we end up, you know, making them super crazy quiet, and I just, you know, I mean, what's the fun in shooting stuff if it's not loud and powerful feeling, right? I mean, a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I like them loud, so I try to make them as loud as possible, but still have a good air seal. Now, what I had to do to the piston, you can fix the piston. What I had to do now is I took some small O-rings, actually a little bit smaller than this one, but I'm just using this as an example. Took some small O-rings, and I'll use this piston as an example. And I placed them on the body, 2 of them, for stability reasons, placed them on the body of the piston, and then I wrapped electrical tape around that to stabilize it, and kind of brought the electrical tape towards the middle on each one, so it makes it to where like the surface that makes contact with the cylinder, it's not going to unravel itself, because the part where it's bound is completely separate from the part that makes contact with the cylinder, if that makes sense. So basically I just added some thickness to it with some O-rings and stuff, and also those O-rings made it to where I had a better air seal, because originally I wasn't getting a 460 out of this rifle. I also Teflon taped the cylinder head. That's a pretty standard procedure to do on airsoft guns. And I also ported and polished the cylinder head. And it's a very simple process. All you do is take the chuck of a drill, a standard drill. You know, my impact drill obviously would not work. But you take a chuck of a drill, open it up to the size of the cylinder head, and tighten it down. Not too much, because you know you don't want to damage it. but tighten it down to where it's snug, and then literally take some sandpaper or some metal piece, razor blade, just something that'll cut metal or be abrasive to metal, and you just spin it at high speeds, and you get it nice and super polished, and you can use a bunch of different grades of sandpaper, go all the way down to 2,000 if you want, and make it crazy polished. But the theory behind that is there's less, well, for one, you get a bigger area to let the air escape, depending on how far you go with that. Two, it makes it to where the air is more even instead of it makes the air like more stable inside the barrel. So when it gets to the transfer the air from the cylinder to the cylinder head out the barrel, there's less in because the cylinder head is the middleman. There's the piston, then the next step is the cylinder head, and then it transfers everything to the barrel, and then out it goes. So that cylinder head is pretty important to distribute the air evenly. The more evenly it's distributed, the less turbulence you have in your barrel, and thus creating more shot-to-shot consistency. So, and you actually get a little bit of FPS increase too if you bore it out a little bit, and you do a good job. It's a little history lesson on cylinder heads. I'm not really sure what else I can go over on this rifle. I've removed the safety because I had some issues with it. The safety's actually up here. It was a nice feeling thing, but it was distracting to look at, and then also pretty much these guns are dead safe. Unless it's cocked, it's not going to go off, and there's no real reason to have a safety on these kind of guns. It's not going to start firing by itself or cocking itself. It's a 100% manual gun. So, and you wouldn't leave it cocked for obvious reasons. So, for people that are like, oh, you shouldn't do that, man, that's dangerous. It's like, no, not really, So, I mean, you shouldn't be pointing at anyone without face protection on anyway, right? And I mean, anyway, I'm sure a freak accident's going to happen to me after this, and everyone's going to be like, I told you, But, nothing really else to go over that I can think of besides the gun is super heavy, but it's fun to use. I have yet to take it out to a game, so I don't know if I'm going to hate it or love it. But I've done so much heavy modification to it, like I definitely won't be able to sell it for what I paid, which is only $197, and then I also got refunded $25 because the guy shipped it to me. Well, the battery was dead in the scope that came with it. The gun was cocked, which is debatable whether or not that's actually damaging to the spring, because some people say springs are damaged when they're repeatedly used. Some people say damage comes to springs when they're compressed for too long. There's a lot of information out there on that kind of stuff, and I don't really know what exactly causes